mindset's been great. The energy's been great. I think our guys have really been focused. I think it's very important as a coach that you curb the enthusiasm. You have it under control. This is one of those weeks you got to be careful. You don't leave the battle out on the practice field. You want to make sure they're ready to go because it's going to be a really tough physical game, and you don't want them to use it all in practice where our guys have been pretty spirited and getting out.
I think what our players need to do is just focus on playing one play at a time, trying to win as many plays in the game as they can. Don't worry about the scoreboard. Don't worry about what the outcome means, because we just need to focus on what we need to do to play well in this game, as you said, against the number one team in the country and a very, very good team. So it's going to take a very good effort by a lot of people to be able to win, those plays. So that's what we're focused on here now. We're focused on, what do we have to do to try to get the outcome rather than worrying about what the outcome is, which, as you say, creates a lot of anxiety. So that's basically how we're trying to approach it.
Oh, welcome in to the latest episode of that SEC podcast. I'm your host, Michael Bratton. I go by SEC Mike on Twitter. And I'm joined, as always, by my cousin Shane, who goes by Big Orange Voss on Twitter. What are you up to, you big Tennessee homer?
Hey, buddy, what's going on?
Oh, SEC championship. I got to crack one open too, man. Can you believe it? Another season. I know it's not officially done, but, man, it just flies by before you know it, doesn't it?
Oh, God, Mike, I wasn't ready, man. I wasn't ready. I got caught up in Thanksgiving gets you, Mike. You know what I'm saying? It's a holiday. Family's coming in, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, yeah, by the way, it's the last fucking week for football. It's like, wait, what? Did I miss it? So, oh, man, I was not ready. This one flew by, Mike. It felt like we had another 8-game season, man.
Yeah, and without a doubt, Shane, this has been the biggest year of the pods. We just want to take a moment to thank the audience. We're seeing all these people giving us love with their the Spotify, letting us know that we're their top. Man, some of these people, Shane, 5,000, 6,000 hours listen to the show. Sometimes it feels like no one's listening. It's just you, me, and my mom's in the other room listening. You know what I mean? But, man, there are a lot of people listening to this show, and we just really want to say thanks. We're investing more and more in it. We got the video aspect. Now we got the 4K video. I've never looked as gruesome as I do now, but man, this is, I cannot say thanks enough for all the support we've been given this year. You know what?
Absolutely, Mike. It's so good looking at the Spotify counts and stuff, and I'm pulling mine up. I'm like, damn, I'm not pulling my own load here. It's just these guys have listened. They've put in the time. They've put the likes. They've sent the 5-star reviews. They're drinking the koozies. They're retweeting the pod. I mean, they're doing everything, and that's. I mean, it's more than what we asked for, man. We didn't know what this was going to do when we first got this thing going, and we love where it's going now, and we're excited because every year it gets better, Mike. Like you said, we got video. Dang, cousin Shane's coming out next year with video, so you better get ready. They got 5K. I don't know. They better. Be careful what quality you ask for, guys. But absolutely, man, it's just good seeing everybody out there and giving the thanks and props. I appreciate that.
Yeah, and sticking on that theme, Shane, we had a listener email us. Actually, it's his daughter. So let's they're asking for a shout out. Want to get this guy something for Christmas. Jamie Sanders, your daughter Chloe, reached out to us, said, you're huge fans. Every time people come over, you're telling them about the pod. You love the pod. You got the koozie and everything. And she just wanted to let you know she's thinking about you and she wanted to do something special. So she wanted us to give you a shout out. So Jamie, thank you very much for all your support. You're one of the people we're talking about. This is why we do it, for you guys out there, bringing you all this hours of entertainment. And he's a Tennessee fan, Jane, so he's probably one of your best buddies. You know what?
Come on, Jamie. We probably passed each other a few times there at Neyland, man. I appreciate that. I appreciate your youngin' too, man. I wish my kids don't know half the stuff I'm listening to. You know what I'm saying? Every time they get in my car, they want to switch it to Justin Bieber or something. You got a good one there, Jamie.
Well, all right, Shane. So, hey, we're going to break down the SEC championship game. Of course, the big game here in the SEC. But before we do that, got a couple things to mention, Shane. The sponsors, Prize Picks. Don't forget to head on over. There's still a chance to jump on over to prizepicks.com and use that promo code SEC so that they know that we sent you over. And if you use that promo code SEC, they'll match your initial deposit up to $100, so you can have $200 to play daily fantasy sports over at Prize Picks. They got NBA, NFL, Major League Baseball, UFC, and of course, the reason we partnered with them, they got college football, Shane. So
yeah, baby.
And I'm on a heater. I've been on a heater, man. I've been hitting 2 out of 3 every week, I think, the damn season. So you ready for my Prize Picks heading into this SEC championship game?
Yes, sir. I'm ready to lock it down. What you got, Mike?
All right, I think this is a lock of the week right here because, we all know Bryce Young, very mobile player. He gets, I don't think he gets enough credit for his mobility, and I really think they're going to have to unleash him this week. I think they've been holding him back a lot of the times, and I think against this nasty Georgia defense, they are going to have to ask Bryce Young to rush the ball. Now, of course, Georgia's got the elite of the elite defense, so they're going to be coming after him. May get a couple sacks, but I also think Bryce Young is going to break a couple of runs here. I'm going over his rushing total, Shane, and his rushing total -9.5. So if Bryce Young has 0 rushing yards, you win this bet. If he's got 1, hell, if he's got -9, you win. I think that's a safe bet. What do you think?
Absolutely. How can you not trust the offensive line of Alabama, No. No. Hey, I do like it. I think you're right. I think you hit the nail on the head. They're going to have to get creative, and I think they do that with his legs. So, yeah, I like the over on that one too, Mike.
Now, how about this one, Shane? Obviously, Alabama's got John Mechie, Jamison Williams, 2 of the best receivers in the SEC. I think, Georgia's going to be keying in on those guys. So, I'm looking, in a game like this, you got to look for other guys to step up. And I like Slade Bolden, the, lesser-known Alabama receiver over. Now, he doesn't have to get much. That's the key. 23.5 receiving yards. So, I think he gets 25 yards easily in a game where Alabama, they may get down. You got to think that they're going to be trying to go to the air early and often against this nasty Georgia front seven.
Oh, Mike, already tipping your hat in the game, huh? Yeah, Bolden's going to get it in garbage time when Alabama's trying to catch you up. No, hey, I do like this. I like this little guy. He's one of those possession receivers that you see out there and just manages to always find a couple of receptions during the game. And what was it, 23 yards? 23.5.
So if he hits that 24, you're golden.
Yeah, I think so. He gets that in 3 catches, Mike, so I like that.
All right, last but not least, Shane, this one a little bit of a gamble, but I'm feeling good about it. Stetson Bennett over 1.5 passing touchdowns because I just really think Alabama, they're going to have to sell out against the run. They're going to make Stetson Bennett beat them. And I don't know. I think there's a good chance that Stetson gets him 2 touchdowns in this game. What about you?
Yeah, I like that, Mike. I think, this is going to be a team that they're going to have to score some points against. So, you do that a lot through the air because you're right. Alabama is going to sell out to the run.
Yep. All right, Shane. Hey, so we didn't want this to be a completely Alabama and Georgia podcast, given the fact that, we like to tout ourselves as the only SEC show that really does touch on all these other teams. So we have got 13 teams, Shane, an NCAA record go into the postseason this year. Now on Sunday, we're going to know where all these teams are going bowling, who they're playing against. We'll have all that coverage breaking down. But we thought it'd be fun to just kind of name which team we'd most want to see all these teams play in a bowl game. Not, we're not trying to report where they're going to play, but just kind of the matchups we want to see. And I reminded Shane about 2-3 times to have his list ready, so I feel like he's writing it down as I speak. But
hey, can we pause this for a second? I did this list. Now I did it at 3 hours ago. No, yeah, 3.5 hours ago. But I got the list in today, Mike, and it's one of those that I wish, Mike, I paid attention and did it earlier, because it felt like the longer I did it, the more I changed some of these. So now I just want to clarify. This isn't going to happen, a lot of these games. I know it. I know these matchups will not happen. But this is some of the matches. The way I did it, Mike, is the ones I'd love to see.
Right.
These two teams I'd love to see play each other in the postseason, even though it may be physically impossible. So I'm just, again, clarifying before you hear my list and say, well, dang, Shane, there's no way that could happen. I know. But just hear me out.
well, let's start with the number one team in the country, Shane. Georgia, we got to assume slam dunk to be in the college football playoff, win or lose this weekend. Who is the matchup that you most want to see the Bulldogs play in the college football playoff?
Well, see, here we go again, Mike. Not fair, but because I had a couple of things here. You know what? Forget it. I got it, Mike. Here we go. I want to see Georgia and Michigan. Ooh. But deep down inside, Mike, I would love to see them hang about 100 points on Cincinnati. I mean, I would love to see them go out there and finish what UTEP couldn't.
I almost went with that one, Shane. I almost went with Cincinnati. Now, we did see that last year, and we've been kind of making fun of it all year. So I'm going to flip the script, Shane. I'm going to change it a little bit. I wanted to see him play Notre Dame. And I know we've seen that, in the past, but more than anything, I just think, we love to make fun of Notre Dame, just stole their coach down there in LSU. But
yes,
how fascinating would it be to see Notre Dame in the playoff without their damn head coach going up against, the world's biggest juggernaut, Georgia Bulldogs. So Michigan, Cincinnati, that'll be good too. But for me, it's the ideal matchup for Georgia has got to be Notre Dame.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that would be great. We loved the last time they played. Yeah, it wasn't pretty. Notre Dame kind of got back into it, and I think it kind of stole their thunder, and that's why they ended up making the playoffs there. I just think you could put it to rest. Having these two programs are not the same, and it seems like we do this every year, Mike. Notre Dame finds a way to trip into the college football playoffs, and then we say, well, I guess they shouldn't have been in there. No, they never should be in there. So, yeah, I like that matchup.
Now, how about Alabama, Shane? Who's the ideal bowl opponent for the Crimson Tide?
Oh, Mike, I went back and forth on this one, but I got to go. When I think Alabama, I got to think Ohio State.
Ooh.
Okay, and it's just, I think that it would be a hell of a game. I think the fact that you have Bryce Young and C.J. Stroud on the field at the same time, it would just, they would have every NFL coach there in there. You know what I'm saying? Watching this thing. So I just think that would be a hell of a matchup. That's deep down inside I'd love to see again.
I went with Michigan State, Shane. So staying in the Big Ten here, but Nick Saban's former team, and this is another team that, feasted on a Big Ten schedule. They're number 11 in the country, but they'd probably be number 11 in the SEC had they had to go through that gauntlet. So I'd love to see Alabama whip up on either Michigan State or, kind of the same thing you said about Cincinnati. This is the worst Alabama team we've seen in 3 or 4 years. Give them Cincinnati. Let them beat Cincinnati by 75, and maybe we'll find out how good those Bearcats really are. You know what?
It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen at some point. So I love it. Go on, man.
How about Arkansas? Who do you want to see the Razorbacks play?
This is another one I got a little torn on, but I would like to see Arkansas and Oklahoma.
Ooh.
And go with me. The reason I'd love to see this matchup, Mike, is because we've already faced Texas. We saw how that ended. Might as well welcome the other guys to the SEC. So that's the one I'm leaning more toward. It's a close rivalry. Well, not really a rivalry, but I mean, you know what I'm saying. These guys aren't too far from each other. They're right there in the same recruiting hotbeds, probably going after the same players. It just, I don't know. When you're thinking about these guys coming to the SEC, selfishly, I'd love to go ahead and see that matchup with Arkansas.
You know, I actually considered the Sooners for them, Shane, but I'm going with a team that I think is actually a little bit higher ranked right now. I want to see them play Iowa in the Outback Bowl. Those are two iconic college football programs, and I think again, the way I just go into these thinking, Shane. I mean, Arkansas, you know, they're ranked. What are they ranked? Like 20, 25, something like that. While Iowa's number 13, and I think Arkansas will beat them by about 20 points. So I just want SEC to smash all these overrated Big 10, Big 12, all these garbage teams. You know what?
Yeah, absolutely, man. I love it.
How about the Auburn Tigers? Who do you want to see them play?
Oh, my. Every one of these, I go round and round. Part of me wanted to see the Penn State because I don't think this is the same Auburn team. I don't think this is the same Penn State team. I think we're going to have a different outcome, probably a lot more targeting in this one. But I ended up switching it there at the last minute because I'd love to see Gus Malzahn one more time. So give me UCF.
Hey, my bad. I didn't even think of that one, Shane. That'd be a great one. But for me, you know, this seemed like maybe we send Auburn out to play a Pac-12 squad, and I picked UCLA. We've already seen LSU go and face up against UCLA and unfortunately go down in Pasadena. So I want to see how they match up against an SEC West team that beat LSU. And this is the first year of the Las Vegas Bowl. How about Auburn, UCLA, and the Las Vegas Bowl? I'd watch that.
Oh, come on now, Mike. Man, I just wish we could do all these. Don't you? Wish you could see every bowl game.
How about it?
There's a guy out there, or a girl, that has done it, and I wish we were part of that team. So, sorry, go ahead.
Maybe 1 year, Shane. Maybe 1 year. So, speaking of LSU, who you want to see the Tigers play in a bowl game?
Oh, LSU. You know who I want, Mike? I want the Battle of Death Valley, the Battle of Tigers, the Battle of whatevers, you know. The last time these two teams met, it did not turn out the way LSU would like. I think we got a different story now. The way the LSU defense is playing and as bad as Clemson's offense has been short of South Carolina, I think that would be a hell of a matchup. They're strength on strength. So give me Clemson and LSU. That's who I'd like to see.
Now, I don't know if you know this, Shane, but LSU, they recruit the state of Texas pretty well, and they particularly recruit the Houston area. And I didn't realize this, Shane. Houston's number 21 in the country. Bring them on down because LSU may be 6-6. They may not even have a damn head coach. Well, they do now, but he won't be coaching in the bowl game. I just think it'd be fantastic if them LSU Tigers whooped up on the supposed number 21 team in the country to let everybody know that you can finish dead last in the SEC West and you're still better than the number 21 team in the country. And I guarantee you, if these two met, LSU would be the betting favorite. You know what?
Mike, I got so much flack this week off Top 25 because I said Tennessee Volunteers should be in it. But, Mike, I'm telling you right now, there's a lot of people in that top 25 that shouldn't be in there. And we all know it, but we put them in there because we have to for some reason.
Well, one team that's up there that deserves it, Shane, Ole Miss Rebels. Who do you want to see them Rebels play in a bowl game?
Ole Miss. Went back and forth on this one, Mike, and I couldn't choose, so I'm going to do them both. I went Ole Miss and Notre Dame for the first one, and my thought process was, you know, here we got Mr. Kelly coming down to LSU and everybody wanted Lane Kiffin. Maybe they didn't make that phone call, Mike. Maybe there was never an opportunity. Well, Lane can go up there and beat his team, beat their brakes off. You know what I'm saying? So part of me wanted to go that route. The other one wanted to go the Michigan State route just because I think that would be a hell of a matchup. One of the best offense against one of the best running games. I just would love to see the outcome there. So, yeah, give me – the more I think about it, I still like the Notre Dame. So give me Ole Miss, Notre Dame.
Ooh, I like that. Now, this one, Shane, this might actually come to pass here, but I want to see Ole Miss and Ohio State in the Sugar Bowl. Sugar Bowl, that's a big deal for any SEC team, and Ohio State clearly not going to make the college football playoff now. So This matchup could come to pass there in New Orleans. And, speaking of high-flying offenses, man, Ohio State, Ole Miss, over-under in this thing will probably be around 80 points. Matchups of two elite play callers, two elite quarterbacks. I think that's a dream scenario for me, Ole Miss, Ohio State.
Oh, yeah, man. I mean, think about what you signed up. You signed up Lane Kiffin. You took a chance on him, and look what he's turned your program around into. You're going against Ohio State in the Sugar Bowl. Come on, Mike. Man, them Ole Miss fans are lucky.
Now, how about Mississippi State? Who you want to see the Pirate play in a bowl game?
Well, the opposite of good luck's bad luck. And the last time these two teams faced each other, it was not on my side or the fan side. I want Memphis, man. I want that same ref out there, and I want there to be I don't want this to come down to a punt. I don't want it to come down to a stupid, penalty that didn't get called. I want this just to be a game that Rodgers has about 600 passing yards and puts them away. So give me the matchup again, Memphis, Mississippi State.
Ooh, I like that, Shane. But
and give me my $100 back while we're at it. I'm putting $200 on this game.
This one, I may have just picked it for the coaches, but I think this would be one hell of a matchup on the field as well, Shane. How about Mississippi State versus Oklahoma State? Mike Gundy, Mike Leach, the Mullet, the Pirate, two high-flying offenses. I only watched Oklahoma State play one game this year. It was Oklahoma. They're the last week of the season, but they seem to be high-flying all over the field. I think, again, this will be another high-scoring contest that I think Oklahoma State's like number 5 in the country. I still think Mississippi State will whoop their ass. You know what I mean? Because they don't play the SEC West. You know what I mean?
Exactly, man. I like that. It's funny you said that because I'm about to pull the old Sooners up here in a minute. Not the Sooners. I'm sorry, Cowboys here in a minute. Yeah.
Let's see if you're going where I think you're going, Shay. Texas A&M. Who you got them playing?
Oklahoma State. I figured, why not, man? You got a high-power offense. You got a high-power defense. Why not bring them together? Have a matchup we ain't seen in a while. I think it'd be fun for the fans. I think it'd be fun and entertaining. So, yeah, give me Oklahoma State, Texas A&M.
Now, the matchup I want to see, Shane, Texas A&M versus Texas Longhorns. Oh, wait a second. The Longhorns are not bowl eligible.
Oh.
They
We're
expanded,
back.
Shane.
No, you're not.
I don't know if you saw this, Shane. They just expanded. So now they're going to have 42 bowls. They just announced this. They're going to add one this year. And Texas will not be. They expanded the field, and they still can't get the Longhorns in there. So,
God.
Unfortunately, we can't.
You sure they can't add one more down there in Austin? Just like, don't forget this one.
No, so I want to see the Aggies actually play a good team from the state of Texas. Oklahoma State, that would be a hell of a matchup too. But I'm going versus number 9 Baylor. Shane, Dave Aranda, of course, used to be LSU defensive coordinator. Now he's got that thing going down there. I think Baylor's playing for the Big 12 championship. They may win it, but if they win it, we probably couldn't get this game. But if they lose, Texas A&M Baylor, I think that'd be a hell of a bowl game.
Oh, yeah. No, I think that would be, man. And good for recruiting, too.
Yeah. Now, how about the Florida Gators? Who you want to see them play?
Florida had a rough year, Mike. You know who they didn't have a rough time with, though? Every team from Florida. I mean, if you think about it, these guys, they beat every Florida team that they faced this year. Miami's who I'm picking, but they got FSU, they got FAU, USF. So let's just go ahead and close this thing down. I couldn't do UCF, already used Gus. So I'm going to go Miami. I think Miami, Florida would be a great game. I think it's good, because when you talk about building a program, you do it by securing the borders. How do you do that? By beating every team that's in it. So give me Miami Hurricanes.
Yeah, and I think, that'd probably be a really good selection, Shane, because, fan bases like Florida may not get up for a bowl game if you're playing some off-the-wall team, but if you're playing a rival,
right,
particularly an in-state, you get up for it. But I'm going with my theme, Shane, of toppling these ranked teams. How about, this just sounds interesting to me, Florida versus number 12 BYU. BYU's number 12? What? Give me a break. Get that out of here. I think the Gators, imagine the Gators beat number 12 in the country, which, again, I think the Gators may be the favorite in this matchup. But more than anything, I think I just get pissed off when I see these rankings next to these bogus teams. You know what?
BYU number 12. What are we ranking here? Cleanest universities? What's going on here?
All right, how about Kentucky, Shane? Who you want to see the Wildcats play?
Oh man, Kentucky. This was probably the easiest one. I want to see Kentucky. I mean, they've already beat Louisville, so let's just go ahead and close it down. The trifecta, go up there to Cincinnati and whoop them Bearcats. I mean, I think it's good for the recruiting. I think it's good for national media to show just the kind of the same thing that you're talking about. These guys are ranked way too high, higher than they should be. You play a team like Kentucky, a team that hasn't had the best year, but still would destroy a top 4 team in the country, just blowing these polls out of the water. So, yeah, I would love nothing more than to see Kentucky destroy Cincinnati.
For me, Shane, hey, that's a great pick. But one I think, it's also regional. Another ranked opponent, Wake Forest, who's number 16. I can't believe that. But Kentucky whooping up on Wake Forest, who's their head coach was the former offensive coordinator down there at Tennessee, Dave Clawson. And I have watched them a little bit. They're an exciting team. They have a good offense that's ripped up the ACC. I don't know how good it'd be in the SEC, but we know Kentucky's got them in offense. I think that'd be a nice back and forth battle.
Oh yeah, for sure that would be.
How about Missouri? Who you got them Tigers playing?
Probably the toughest one, Mike. I'm not gonna lie. I went round and round on this thing. I'm gonna give up a later pick here in a minute, but I almost went App State just because.
Oh yeah.
But I mean that was just, it seemed too easy. So what I did, I went just right down the street, Kansas State. This is 2 teams that used to play each other. There's been some great games come out of it. I still think with the way that they're recruiting, they got to secure that area. You know what I'm saying? That Missouri, that St. Louis area. You do that by beating teams down the street. So, yeah, give me Mizzou, Kansas State.
Well, it's interesting, Sean. We almost went in the same angle here, but because I'm going against a former Big 12 opponent as well, a team that had a lot of hype in the preseason, kind of like Missouri. Neither one quite lived up to the expectations this season, but I think will make for a heck of a bowl game. How about Iowa State, Shane, who was a big preseason favorite to win that conference? They didn't get it done, but they got some good players. I think Missouri, Iowa State, I think that's a game both fan bases will get up for, and 2 of the rising coaches in college football. So, I don't know. That just seems like an intriguing matchup to me.
Dude, yeah, I think that'd be a hell of a matchup. And I think it'd be a good signature win for Mizzou. That's what they need here in a bowl game.
Now, how about South Carolina, Shane? Who you got them Gamecocks playing?
Well, I want the Gamecocks to win, so it changed my feel. There's some deep down seated hate that I'd love to see South Carolina beat, but I don't think their team's just ready. So what I did is what I told you earlier. I went App State because the last time these two met, there's no reason South Carolina should have lost that game. So there's no reason they should lose this one. So yeah, give me App State. They won. I told them I'd never use that Y again, but give me them and the Gamecocks.
Oh yeah, I like that pick. That'd be one that a game that a Gamecocks certainly could win. I went with a little bit more high profile of an opponent, Shane. How about South Carolina versus Penn State? Penn State annually overrated. Get them down here in the South, maybe like the Music City Bowl. I think the Gamecocks will be fired up to play in that one. And I'd love to see James Franklin lose to Shane Beamer and the Gamecocks before the season ends. You know what?
Yeah, in Nashville one more time.
Which I don't even know if James Franklin is allowed in the city limits,
No, there'll be a lot of anchors down in the back of his car, man.
All right, last but not least, Shane, save this one for you. Tennessee Vols, who you want to see him play in a bowl game?
Oh, Mike, Mike made this list. He said, Shane, just pick a team that you think would go against, and if you see a theme here, Mike, I'm picking 2. So why stop now? So this one, I first went straight, I was like, man, I'd love to have another shot at Pitt. But then I thought, I don't want to hear about this quarterback's relationship with Peyton Manning anymore. I said, I've already made it through 60 minutes of that. I don't want to go back. So forget Pitt. Forget all the Johnny Majors talk. Here's what I want, Mike. Oklahoma, because they steal all their recruits. They want our coach, and they don't want them volunteers, baby. So that's who I want to see. I want to see Hey, you took them all through the transfer. You did all that dirty shit, Lincoln, and then you got out of here. So I want to take the Tennessee Volunteers over there and whoop up on them Sooners.
Ooh, hey, that's probably even better than my pick, Shane, and I like mine. How about Tennessee? You're talking about you want to put them in the rankings. Let's give them a ranked opponent, number 20, Clemson. I think that'd be a hell of a matchup. Tennessee's offense,
Yeah.
Clemson's defense, Dabo the crybaby, Josh Heupel, the X's and O's wizard over there on Rocky Top. Maybe like in the Gator Bowl down there in the state of Florida. I think the nation would tune in for that one, just see which team is the real orange and white. These two have met in a bowl game before, and I think this time Tennessee gets them.
Yeah, well, color rush this game, you know? No, it's a little too much orange. No, I think I'd love to do this, Mike, because for a couple of reasons. If you look at some of the down years of recruiting for Tennessee, has always seemed like that's the time when Clemson started recruiting well.
Yep.
So, hell, they came in our backyard several times. So there is some deep-seated hate when you think about quarterbacks that went here and quarterbacks that should have went there. So,
Right.
yeah, this is a rivalry that we don't know about. So, Tennessee Vols and too, but yeah, I'd like to see that matchup as well, Mike.
All right, Shane. So we
But Oklahoma's done it sooner, so the pun intended. So I want to go over there, man.
All right, Shane. We've danced around long enough. Let's get to our picks for the big game, the SEC championship. All right,
They
Shane.
got some.
Alabama versus Georgia. First time since 2015 that the Crimson Tide are underdogs in a football game. That's just crazy. The Bulldogs favored by 6.5 points. The over-unders 49.5. And the game kicks off at 4 o'clock Eastern, 3 o'clock Central on CBS. Who do you got in the matchup?
Mike, I think this line shifted already, man.
Has it?
I think Georgia's up 6. Yeah, I think it's 6.5 now. And Mike, this is forget SEC championship, Mike. This is the championship game. Okay.
Yeah.
We talk about. I mean, people are putting Cincinnati in these talks. They're like, hey, if all goes well, we'll put Oklahoma State in here. Oh man, blah 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 blah. Notre Dame, get out of here, Mike. There's two teams that are the best two teams in the country, and they play each other Saturday. It's Alabama Crimson Tide. That's the Georgia Bulldogs. Now, a lot of people say the Georgia Bulldogs ain't played nobody. Look at their strength of schedule. You know what I'm saying? They just blah, blah, blah. Top 50. They've not played anybody. It doesn't matter, Mike, because every time they played somebody, they destroyed them. Even the best teams, even ranked opponents, they destroyed them. It was never in question. Alabama has fought for their life since game one. And I look back at Alabama and I said, hey, all right, Shane, what did Alabama have trouble with? Last week, they had trouble with defense. They had pressure on their quarterback all game long. They had trouble getting the running game going. What's Georgia good at? Those two things. Then I think, okay, Shane, well, what about the game that Alabama lost? Well, who did they have trouble with? I think a little bit of the passing game. I think a little Weidemeyer. I think, they had a little problems on the outside there. Plus, they had turnovers. What is Georgia good at? All of that. Hell, I think they got the best tight end in the country. So I kept trying to find a way that Alabama could come up and beat the Georgia Bulldogs. I just can't, Mike. I can't. With the product I've seen here lately, it's not like Alabama started slow and they ended great. They were just seesawing and it felt like they just gave the game plan away last week in the Iron Bowl. And I think that's exactly what Georgia needs to see, that these guys are human. This ain't the same Alabama Crimson Tide that you've played in years past. So I don't think the Georgia Bulldogs are worried at all about Alabama coming in here. But, Mike, they should be, because you know why? They still got Nick Saban. They still got one of the best quarterbacks in the country. They got a ton of receivers. Yes, I do think this is the best opponent the Georgia Bulldogs had faced this entire season. And a lot of people are saying, well, hell, I can't tell who Shane's going to pick now. But the fact of the matter is, Mike, when it all comes down to it, that old saying, defense wins championships, I think that is what happened Saturday, Mike. I love the Georgia Bulldogs defense. I have never seen one like it. I mean, I've seen them do it in years past, but not complete games every game of the season. They just keep coming out and overperforming. We got people getting healthy at the right time. We got Stetson Bennett, a backup quarterback now. He looks like Joe Montana out there. I don't see a scenario where Alabama can put points up against these boys because they're going to live in that backfield, Mike. So give me Georgia, big time, 31, Alabama, 17.
Oh man, double-digit victory here for them Bulldogs.
Oh man,
huh?
I feel like once it's going to start out tight. We're gonna pretend to ourselves that this is going to be a ball game, but then Georgia's going to really step on their throat. And once they get a couple turnovers, which they will have in this game, I don't think Alabama's going to be able to get back in it. Tell me I'm wrong.
Now, two things I didn't hear you mention there, Shane. The fact that them Georgia Bulldogs can never beat Alabama. Kirby can't beat Nick Saban. And, just the mental edge there that this program has over Georgia. And also the fact that Alabama's playing for their lives right now. There's just no scenario that I see and have found anybody to convince me that Alabama can win this football game, lose the football game and make the college football playoff. So it's like you said, this is a college football playoff. This is a national championship. Right. And these are the games that Nick Saban and Alabama show up for the most. None of that, despite all that, doesn't phase you at all. Is Georgia going to win by such a large margin?
What? You could tell me what you want, man. I can't. Georgia, here's what they did. They planted a seed of doubt week one with Clemson, and every week since then they have proved me wrong. Every time that I think that they're not as good as I think they are, they come out and they perform better. It's just I try to find ways that they could. I mean, look what they did to Auburn, man. And I know this is several weeks apart. It's two different games, but they destroyed them, man. Yeah. It wasn't even close. Any team, Arkansas was on fire coming in there. They destroyed them. This Georgia, and you hear these sound clips come out with Kirby Smart pumping up. I mean, they want to destroy people, and that's what they're going to do. They're not afraid of Alabama for once in their lives. They're not afraid of the Crimson Tide, and I think that shows right out of the gate because guess who's bigger and stronger? Georgia. Now, they got speed on Alabama. Don't get me wrong. Some of these receivers, they're going to be playing in the NFL, just like the several first-rounders on that team. Alabama's riddled with talent. But I just think in the areas that they're going to struggle in, Georgia is just that much superior. So that's why I just don't think it's a game. It's just because it's not strength on strength, man. It's strength against weakness.
Yeah. Well, it was just – I guess I'm just second-guessing myself. If you guys missed it, go back and listen. I think it was on Wednesday's show. Stats of Wars, their CFB graphs, also known by, but their computer model says Alabama's going to win this football game, Shane. And that just got me thinking on Georgia struggling on third downs and Alabama's ability to hit the deep shot and how that plays into the hands of the Crimson Tide in this matchup. And I'm going to be honest with you, Shane. I think Alabama is going to jump out to a big lead in this football game. I really do. I'm talking double-digit lead because I think Nick Saban and Bill O'Brien, I think they're smart enough to know that, they may not be able to go toe-to-toe with this Georgia team, but maybe they can jump on them early and get that psychological edge, and maybe Georgia will – maybe they're not as tough as we think they are. Maybe they truly haven't played anyone up to Alabama's caliber this year, and if maybe we get in a haymaker early, they'll crumble, knowing that they can afford to lose this game and still go on to the college football playoff. I think that's Alabama's only shot in this matchup because they're not going to be able to run the ball. It sounds like Brian Robinson's out. They're down to one healthy running back, and hell, you could give them 10 healthy running backs against this defensive front and their offensive line. It's a major, major disadvantage. So I think there's certainly a window for Georgia to win this football game, and it's something that I talked about earlier in the week. They've got to pass more on early downs. They've got to let Stetson Bennett cut loose in this matchup because I think you're playing right into Alabama's hands. if you run the ball on early downs, and it creates 3rd and long because Alabama's so good defending the run. Here's a key stat, Shane. I know I said Bryce Young and all these rushing yards. Now, I said better than -9, but Bryce Young's been sacked 33 times this season, Shane. Stetson Bennett's been sacked 6. I mean, that just goes to show how wide of a margin we have just on these offensive lines. And hell, no one's talking about Georgia's offensive line and the quality of players they got this year, just because the defense has been so stellar and Stetson Bennett's been playing above his head, and Brock Bowers should be an All-American, I think. He's on my All-SEC freshman or All-SEC offensive team. At the end of the day, yeah, I do I'm being honest, Shane. I think Alabama's going to find a way to jump out to a big lead and test them Georgia Bulldogs. But I think it's going to be a little bit of a reverse here of a couple years ago when, Tua struggled and they had to rely on Jalen Hurts to put them back in the ball game. If that happens to them Georgia Bulldogs, guess what, Shane? They got JT Daniels there on the sideline in the bullpen, warming up, ready for his chance. I'm not even saying they're going to need him, but if they do need him, he's there. And I think Georgia makes a big comeback in the second half. They get over this Alabama streak. I think it's going to be a lot closer than you do, brother. But I got Georgia 28, Alabama 27. This time, Georgia is the one that breaks Alabama's heart, because I think the Bulldogs, like we've been saying all season, the team of destiny, the best team in college football, they're going to go on to win the national championship if they get this done on Saturday. And hell, they still might do it even if they don't. They're just that good of a program. But at the end of the day, I just don't know that, I think Bryce Young, and I think they're capable of getting some points in on Georgia, but I just don't think they're capable of getting much more than 27. And even that would be a season high.
So what was your final score again?
28-27.
Okay. Well, oh, man, so you think Alabama's just going to jump out on Georgia early? That's what you feel like is going to happen?
I think that's the only way they're going to stand a chance to win this football game and be competitive. I think if they get down early and they're too one-dimensional, I think they're screwed.
Well, let me ask you this. All right. So you're trying to figure out these scenarios, things that can happen, things that I mean, if you look at the history, yes, you think Alabama beats Georgia. I mean, hell, it doesn't take much to Google Wikipedia the last few teams, and it's always big games, SEC championships, college football playoffs. It's big games that Kirby has buckled against Nick Saban. Right. But I just don't think they're the same programs, man. I at this moment, I don't. And the way that they're playing, I think the confidence is the thing, Mike. No one on that team is thinking about October 17th, 2020, when they last played. Nobody's thinking about this. Hell, there's probably a handful of people that were even on that SEC championship team. So I don't think that's what they worry about when they play Alabama, because they've been told every single week, not only by their coaching staff, by their family, by the players, by the tweets, by the message boards, by media, that they are right now doing something they've never done before. This isn't 1980, man. This team is freaking loaded from top to bottom, and I think confidence is key. I think confidence got rattled last week for Crimson Tide. Mm-hmm. That's my biggest concern, is that these guys fought tooth and nail to get to this game. Now maybe they overlooked Auburn. That could be a possibility. I mean, they already had the spot. We thought maybe it could be a little bit of a trap game, but your quarterback ran for his life last week against Auburn, right. And it's not like Auburn's just all of a sudden turned into the steel curtain. You know what I'm saying? These guys have struggled getting pressure on quarterbacks in games past. So I don't know. I think the confidence is shaken a little bit, and that's why I like Georgia so much, just because they know what they're coming into. This isn't a buzzsaw. This is work, man. They got their hard hat. They got their lunchbox. They got Kirby in their ear telling them that they're the best damn team that's ever put that jersey on. And I feel that's the confidence we're going to see Saturday. So it's tough for me to see Alabama in this game. Now, that being said, How many times have we said that about Nick Saban? You know, how many times have we went to a game saying there's, you know, that this is going to be a tight one, or this is going to come down to the final possession. It seems like we try to make these storylines up, and then at the end of the game we're watching something else because it's a blowout in the fourth quarter. Do you think there's that possibility? I just want to ask you, do you think there's a chance that Georgia hasn't played anybody and that Alabama is better prepared for this game from the competition they have played here of late? What would Alabama need to do? I mean, what do you see happen? Is there a chance that Alabama in the fourth quarter is just destroyed? Like, a lot of people are predicting a blowout on Georgia's side. Mm-hmm. Not as many people are predicting that on Alabama's side. Is there a scenario where you see Alabama coming out, like you said, Georgia hasn't played anybody, they haven't had the competition, and then maybe Alabama here of late, they've had some tight games, but they find ways to win. You know, Georgia just took a nap halfway through that Georgia Tech game. You know, they didn't really need anything. Is there some sort of scenario playing in your mind where Alabama not only jumps out, but just keeps scoring, and then Georgia's not able to keep up because they've not needed it?
No, I think there is a scenario, Shane. Now, I certainly am not predicting that because I think Georgia's that good of a football team. But, you know, I think one narrative that has been talked a lot this week is the fact that Alabama's been battle-tested. And they've been battle-tested several weeks here in a row. And you know, that's largely because they don't have as good a team as Georgia. But you kind of hit on it there. They haven't faced adversity since week 1 against Clemson. And they've cruised. And now that's because they're a dominant team. They're better than everybody. They're taking care of business. I get all that. But what happens if an Alabama jumps on them? You know, what happens if they get in a college football playoff and they find themselves in a 4-quarter game? I'm not saying that they have a team that can't answer that challenge, but they have not, you know, experienced that themselves. I don't know if they know how they'd handle that type of challenge. So, you know, I think we're going to find out a lot about Georgia here on Saturday because I do think it's going to be a tight ball game, and I do think that they'll answer that challenge, and I think they'll win it there in the end. But until we see it, I mean that is an unanswered question, and we could pretend that they'd be fine, and maybe they would be, but until we see it, we just don't know. And I think, you know, if Will Anderson has himself one hell of a performance, if maybe something clicked there with Bryce Young, and I think one thing that gets overlooked by a lot of people with Alabama's struggles last week in the Iron Bowl was the fact that Jameson Williams got kicked out for targeting. I mean, he's just that big of a deal to their offense that it doesn't work without him in the lineup. He's going to be full go for this one. So what happens if he has a big game? I don't know if Georgia, as good as they are, has anyone in the secondary that can match up with Jameson Williams one-on-one. So, yeah, I definitely think there's a path to Alabama finding a way. Now, it's not a great shot. Again, they may be going up against the best defense we've ever seen. So, certainly not saying Georgia doesn't stand a chance. Hell, I'm picking Georgia to win a football game. But I just think Alabama, with everything they stand to lose if they lose this football game, I think that they're going to come with their best performance of the season, and that should be good enough to cover the spread.
Well, I tell you, Mike, the more we talk about it, the more I'd like to kind of walk that score back a little bit. Because I do remember the SEC championships and the college football playoffs.
Yep.
I have circled Georgia as a winner and only to erase it and say, damn, Bama got him again, you know. I think about the fake punts. I think about all that jazz. It's just, this is the championship, man. Forget the SEC, man. This is the two best teams. We're getting to watch them, and it's a shame that there's a scenario where both these guys don't make the college football playoffs. I would love – I mean, that's the one saving grace, Mike. If Alabama wins this thing, I think we get to see it again. You know,
right.
I don't know what you think, but I think if Alabama finds a way to win this game, Georgia gets another opportunity in the college football playoffs. So I think that's one thing that you can hang your hat on. You can't go through a whole season and losing the SEC championship and not make this college football playoffs. There's no way they're keeping nobody wants 2 SEC teams in there because they know what's going to happen. They're going to end up, dictating who's the champ. So either way, it's a win-win. So, I think Georgia gets it this time. But if they don't, Mike, the good thing is we're going to see it again in a couple of weeks.
Well, hey, buddy, I think we could talk ourselves into circles on this one. So
Yeah.
I think this is a great place to wrap it up. But, I just cannot wait for this game and to find out where all these teams are going bowling. Next time we meet, we'll have answers to all these questions. And looks like, man, we're going to be one hell of a weekend here, not only in the SEC, but with all the college football, with all these championship games. So
Absolutely.
You got anything before we hop off the line?
No, man. That's pretty much it. I'm ready. I'm locked in. I'm going to be watching football all weekend. So maybe we get on after. Maybe we get on at halftime. Maybe we'll find something. I'd like to maybe get with you at some point and maybe. But no, man. I'm pumped up. I'm ready. It's like I said. We only got a couple games left, Mike. You know what I'm saying? And what I hate about some of these bowl games, people don't play. They sit out. We're starting to see it already. It doesn't have the luster like it used to. But what does is these championship games. What does is the playoffs, So we got some really good football coming up. It's just unfortunately we don't have that many games. So I'm going to sponge up every ounce of it this weekend, Mike.
Yeah, absolutely. I do appreciate you, Shane. I appreciate each and every one of you for checking us out all season long, not just this week. And I cannot wait till this championship game. Should be an epic one. But that is going to do it for this episode of the show. We'll catch you on the next one.
All right. See you guys. Go Vols. Locking down the dogs. Alabama just won, man. Crimson Tide fans are pumped up. Shane put $100 on the Bulldogs.